All right. So this is Mesopotamia, the area known as Mesopotamia. So we are going to be, remember I'm recording this. We're going to be labeling this, coloring this, and then we're going to use our Chromebooks to take a picture of this and add it to our notebooks. So the first thing you need is your pen or pencil to label. So grab it, get it in your hand. Axel, can you go hand this out to everybody? Thank you. Oh wait, did I already give you guys a map?
Yes.
Oh, then never mind. Okay. So here we go. If you guys need me to zoom in or something you can't see, let me know because it's hard for me to look at this and what I'm doing. So if I need to zoom in more so you can see, let us know. Let me know. All right, Mesopotamia is the very, very first civilization to develop in ancient times. To be a civilization, one of the main things you need to know is that they had to have writing. So this is the beginning of history. So they had Mesopotamia as the very first place to develop writing. Now, during Neolithic times, people lived here. And remember I told you when we were studying Neolithic age that people first settled in these river valleys here between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers? Well, that's right here. This is where the first civilization develops. But before that, there were still villages and stuff in this area. So there are two big rivers that you need to know. The first one is up here. It is the Tigris River. Tigris River. Do I need to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
Tigris River. The one underneath, this one, is the Euphrates. Okay? These two rivers are pretty much the lifeblood of this area. They would not be able to survive without these two rivers. In fact, Mesopotamia actually means the land between the rivers because this is where they settle. Why are these rivers so important? Well, here is why. Up north, where you can't see because the map cuts off, and over here and over here and over here, there are lots of mountains. So we're going to start drawing those in. You guys know what you use for on maps for mountains? To show mountains. What symbol do you use? You use a kind of a triangle. It doesn't have a bottom. It's like this. So we're going to put some there, and we're going to put some here. Move this down here. Kind of. So here and here. And then we're going to come around to the top of this map right here and put some more here. Because there's 3 sets of mountains you need to know. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see all of it. You guys got your mountains? Okay, I'll wait a second. Okay, I'll wait a second. Guys, shh. Okay. This set of mountains up here is called the Taros Mountains. Taros actually means bowl. The Taros Mountains. Guys, I'm recording, voice level 0. Over here is the Caucasus Mountains. Caucasus. Down here, these mountains are called the Zagros Mountains.
Could you zoom in?
Mm-hmm. Do we have the other two? Zagros, Caucasus, and Taros. All right, why are these important? So when it rains, well, let's just put it this way. What do you think about when you think of mountains? What comes to your head when you think about a mountain? Yes.
Like big, tall, like
What?
snowy.
Snowy. So that's what I wanted to zero in on, is the snowy part. So tops of mountains usually are colder than, because they're so high elevated, that you have more snow and moisture and stuff up there. When it gets a little bit warmer, that snow melts and it has to run down somewhere. So it runs off the mountains, and here it goes into these rivers. Okay. Do you remember when you guys did the graphing packet, and the top thing that a lot of people were confused about was the table? It had Mesopotamia and it had Egypt, and it talked about the flooding. You remember? The flooding with these rivers is a good thing. If they didn't have flooding, they wouldn't be able to plant here, because what it does is these mountains, as they run, the water runs off of them and goes into these rivers. It collects a lot of good stuff for plants, minerals and other things from the mountains and from the ground, and it carries it down the river. And these rivers become really full because of all this water dumping into it. And it's not all the time. It's just every now and then when the mountains get full. But what happens is, though, they flood. And when they flood, it goes into this area right here between these two rivers. And it also dumps out along this way. But this here is a valley. And it's the reason why these are so important is because it collects a lot of that water. And is that good water with, it's called silt, in it deposits on this ground. This ground becomes very, very fertile for growing plants. So a lot of these early civilizations, not just Mesopotamia, but Egypt, India, China, they developed in what's called river valleys. So these are called river valley civilizations because all of these rivers flood. All of them deposit this great silt on the ground, which makes really good growing plants. The problem is that sometimes, depending on where they are, and we'll talk about Mesopotamia specifically, Mesopotamia can have really dangerous floods. They were very unpredictable. There was no way to know when or how much it was going to flood. So sometimes they got a good amount of flood where they could have really good plants, and sometimes they got too much flooding, and the flooding could be really dangerous. It could cause their plants to get wiped out. It could cause loss of life. So that was the downfall about living in this area. They would have good plants, but sometimes the flooding would be terrible. So let's start labeling some of these bodies of water. So the area that they settle in is called the Fertile Crescent. And we talked about that too when we were talking about Neolithic times, because this swath of land between these bodies of water where the rivers flood is very, very fertile. And it's called the Fertile Crescent because it's crescent shaped. First off, you have to know what bodies of water they lay between. This one here is the Mediterranean Sea. Can you guys see it okay? You are going to be seeing this body of water on almost every map, not every map, but almost every map we're going to be doing this year. Mediterranean Sea is super important. This becomes an important place for trade because there are so many civilizations that develop here. So Mesopotamia is here. The next one we're going to be talking about, there's Egypt right here. Greece is going to be down this way a little bit. Rome's right next to it. So you can see there's lots of different civilizations that pop up along the Mediterranean Sea, which is important because they can use it for trade. So this becomes like an important highway in that area at the time, because they could all get to the Mediterranean Sea and run ships on here and boats and trade with each other. This one down here is the Persian Gulf. So when we talk about what bodies of water Mesopotamia lies between, because this is going to be something that you need to know, it is the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean Sea. It is between those two big bodies of water. Down here, you don't necessarily need to know this for Mesopotamia, but you will need to know this for Egypt, and we're going to label it. I always say it looks like a bunny because it's got two ears.
It looks like a snail-like head to me.
It does.
Like little antennas.
Little antennas, yeah. Red Sea. That is the Red Sea. We talking about Moses parting the Red Sea? That's the Red Sea. Okay. Now, they had really good farmland in between these areas, but the bad thing is that it was also surrounded by deserts. So over here, and actually, before I start even labeling the deserts, go ahead and get your green in your hand because I want to draw these lines of where the fertile land is so we don't write over it. So going right here, I'm going to draw this fertile line going from here all the way to here. And then this one starting here, kind of going up and around. So that is in between these two lines is where the fertile land is, and we'll color that in a minute. But I want to label some important deserts that are on this map. So the benefit of having the rivers is travel. You can travel up and down these rivers to trade with each other. Fresh water for your plants, fertile farmland, food. The downfall of the rivers here is the flooding and the disaster it can bring. These mountains, the benefit of these mountains, and this is important because this is one of your learning targets, is that you can describe how these land features both help and hurt the people. So these mountains, the benefit of these mountains is A, the silt that goes into the river and deposits on the land. B, mountains are really good at protection, okay? It's harder to cross mountains than it is to cross flat plain, right? Okay, so that means people can't attack you as easy when you got mountains around you. So around them, we have a Syrian desert. There. And down here, an Arabian desert. How do you think deserts could be helpful?
No one wants to be in a desert.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be in a desert. Nobody wants to try to cross a desert to get to you. Especially back then. Today we have more technology, right? So like we could carry extra water with us and things like that. Back then in like, like 5,000 BC or 4,000 BC, whenever it was settled, they didn't have like all-terrain vehicles or, ways to carry a whole bunch of water with them and food. So it would have been a lot harder to cross a desert to get to the civilization. Yes?
But didn't they have like donkeys and camels that they could ride on the desert?
They did, yes, have camels. But we'll talk about that more when we talk about ancient China and talk about the Silk Road. But during 4000 BC, they may not have had camels. Also, this desert land, even though this is fertile, in between some of these city-states were patches of desert. So again, made it hard for people to travel and trade. Okay? Let's see. There's two things that we're going to write on here before we start coloring. So come over here. Let's see if I can make sure it's on the thing. And draw a box. A box. So what we're going to write is basically what we just said. Deserts. Can you see it okay? Okay. Made it easy or hard for enemies to attack. So around their city-states, and they're called city-states, you should know from your vocabulary that city-states are like cities, but they're run independently. So in all of these areas, little cities pop up, but they're not joined together as one group. This city will run just things differently than this city. They have their own laws. They have their own rulers. So that's why they're called city-states, because they run independently of each other. So each one of the city-states builds a big wall around themselves to protect each other. These city-states often fight with each other because they want to control the rivers. They want to control what little natural resources they have because they don't have a lot. They're surrounded by mountains and desert. They don't have wood and things like that. So the little natural resources they have, they want to control. So they fight with each other. People also like to get here. They want to get down here because they can get access to the Persian Gulf, which gives them more access to trade. We're going to come up here and draw a box. And write one more thing. And if you don't have room, draw it somewhere else that you do have room. And we're going to write snow. Can you see it? Snow and rain from mountains. Deposited rich soil on the riverbanks. Zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. Snow and rain from the mountains deposited rich soil on the riverbanks. There is one more body of water I forgot to label, which is right here. This is the Caspian Sea. So big picture, where's this area located? This area is located in Southwest Asia. All right, first in your hand, get your blue. The first thing you need to do is trace the rivers in blue. Just those two rivers, because those are the ones you need to know for this time. Tigris and Euphrates. Then you're going to color that body of water, that body of water, that body of water, and that body of water in blue. I like to outline mine first, so I'm going to outline it. You don't have to, but make sure you color the bodies of water blue. The rivers. We're coloring all of them, yep, so even the Red Sea.
What's that in like where the Mediterranean Sea is? What's that like in?
That?
Yeah.
That's land, so don't color that. Hi, Liam. Here, grab a map. You can take this if you want the copy off. Okay. All right, take it. No, it's not really red.
I know, but just why is it called red?
It does have red algae in it, but it's not red. And then the Caspian Sea. Okay. Who's still coloring blue? Just me. Okay. The next thing you're going to need is a green. So in between those two lines that we drew, oh, I forgot to color this little, this is blue here too. Sorry, forgot to color that. All right. In between these two lines, we're going to color all the land in between those two lines green, because this is the fertile land. All the rest of the area that's on the map, we're going to color that gray, because this is not fertile land or land we're talking about. So like this, we're going to color gray. This is fertile around here, but we're not talking about it this unit. So
Do you even color the river green?
what do you mean? We're just graying it out. Yes, color over this, color it green, just like mine, like that.
Oh, the little blue line.
We're just going to add this gray because this is not what we're talking about, and or it's not fertile, and so people don't live there. We're just coloring it gray. All right, what you need to do now, you need to take a picture of this with your Chromebook. And to do that, turn on your Chromebook. If you click in the bottom right-hand corner where you pull up the accessibility options, everything, there should be a camera option. And then hold it up in front and then take a picture. Then you open up your notebook and you go to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer, and add the image of your map to the page. I think it's slide 5. Then you can crop it down. You can crop down just to the picture. If you double click on it, you'll get the black bars. You can crop it down. All right, well, that's it for the map today. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and upload this for the kids at home.